What's up? I'm gonna be a little quiet today because I was out at Kick's house for the last 5 freaking days, and I've been spending the better part of the last 5 hours putting together my computer, getting everything back together again. Um, he scavenged some pieces from one of Kepi's old computers, and so I'm like, well, first chance I had to get to do this, it's after 2 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to make sure that I still had a video up. So first and foremost, Happy New Year. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope this new year treats you better than the last one, and I hope any troubles that you had in 24 at least lessen in 25. Um, that being said, I've had this thought that just kind of rolls through my head, and I'm not entirely sure this is going to be a long video, but I don't know. I may go on a rant it somewhere. But I had this thought to where if I ever got to interview a multimillionaire, I think one of the first things I would ask them is, what are you saving for? You have all this money. You can buy all these things. What are you saving for? What are you doing with that excess money that is benefiting you? I mean, there's a show called Hoarders to where you see that people have a problem holding on to things and not letting them go. How are these people any different? I mean, if you're saving up for something, okay, that's fine. Once you save up for it, then what? I guess because I've never been in a position to where I had money, or at least that kind of money, I never really had it in my head to where I could go, you know what? I think I should start helping out other people. Because at some point, if you invest it right, you don't need another dollar. You do it right. So what are you holding on to it all for? Couldn't the lady down the street who's a single mom of 4 kids, maybe is a widow, husband was in the military, and his military whatever doesn't really do all that much, and she's struggling. Couldn't that money help them out? So if that's the case, then why don't we start shitting on the rich? Not the comfortable, but like the disgustingly rich. Why don't we look at people, and yeah, I'm going to say this. So before you get your pitchforks and torches out, just hear me out for a moment. What if we told people like Taylor Swift to go fuck herself? You know? Or we're like, I'm not buying any more of your music. What do you do to help anybody out? You and your boyfriend are multimillionaires. The fuck you need more money for? What are you saving up for? And I thought it was funny. Some of the random stuff that goes through on my phone while I'm scrolling through TikTok. And I saw this guy, Caleb Hammer, and he basically is in his early to mid 20s. And it's just telling people his age and older, your financial situation is fucked. And there was this there was this woman, probably about the same age, maybe mid to late 20s, that is so proud to be a Swiftie. She spends hundreds of dollars on Taylor Swift's website at her merch shop. Something new comes out, she buys it. And Caleb's telling her, "You're going crazy. none of this matters. She doesn't have a clue who you are. And she goes, I like to think that she does. And I'm going, okay, this is along the same realms as those that go onto Twitch and they see a cute girl. And I'm not counting any of that bikinis and hot tubs bullshit. I'm talking about a gamer that's sitting there playing a game that is attractive as hell. And they start throwing bits, or they start throwing donations, or they start throwing subscribers. The mindset is, if I give them enough money, they will see how much money I have and then give me more attention, and then it's just a matter of time before we're dating. And that is a delusion that a lot of people fall for. And I want to say it was back 8 to 10 years ago or something, back when Pokemon was really starting to just skyrocket. This guy was obsessed with her and thought he was going to do this grandiose display, and he's going to let her know just how much he thinks about her and just how great she is. And he gifted her $10,000. 10 grand. And she pretty much just went, thank you. But the stipulation was he needed to give it to her in person, or at least he wanted to meet up with her. I guess he was thinking he was going to shoot his shot. And again, she just said, thank you. Gave him a hug. And then I think she took a week off of Twitch to take that 10 grand and go on vacation to some tropical location with her and her boyfriend and tag the dude in all the pictures as a thank you. That's this level that we are all at. And that's this level where people seem to think if I give enough, they'll eventually see how well I give. They don't give a shit about you. Not one solid or even runny shit. They don't care. They never will. They don't care. And you could sit there and be like, well, I watched all of your videos. I've watched every second, and I voted, or I upvoted, or I thumbs up, and I went ahead and I subscribed, and I started telling other people they need to subscribe, and I know 45 people that subscribed, and we did all this whenever you ask for charity donations, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll just go, cool, thank you. You're awesome. And then they never think about you again. You don't matter to them. They don't care. That's just how that goes. And it's sad, sure, because you want to actually feel like your deep involvement is going to be reciprocated and they'll give a damn. But they don't. And I can say to a very small degree, I did the same thing until I realized what was happening. And it wasn't so much that I was trying to get attention, because it's not like I threw a lot of money at girl streamers. There were some guy streamers I threw money at, because what I was always wanting to do with my Twitch streams was get a community of gamers together to where we would play games together. The different types of games, maybe versus games, things like that. I tried hard. Siwa, Toast, Sterling Aquaril. There's a couple others that I can't think of, but those were the top 3. And it never happened. And all 3 of those do not stream anymore. I don't either. And it was what I had always wanted to achieve during that, was to have a community of gamers to where we just have fun and play games with each other and just do goofy shit and make a couple bucks on the side. That was what I wanted. And so I would do donations and do raids and shit like that to get my name recognized. And then maybe there are people like, ooh, well, let's go see what Pickle's doing, shit like that. And there was some cross stuff. There wasn't a lot, but there was some. And we tried, and it failed. And then I stopped trying. Because at that point I'm giving and trying to entice to be like, hey, come play. No, I'm doing this. It was always a flat out no. It wasn't like, hey, not tonight, but let's do it tomorrow night. It was just a flat out no. And that's the same context as you giving a bunch of people your money and think that they give a damn about you. Like that Taylor Swift lady. I'm sorry, sweetheart. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't even know you exist. If you think the $1 billion princess is able to sit there or even gives a damn or has time to scroll through every single person who makes purchases on her merch shop just so that she can thank them, you're delusional. And it's really kind of sad. It really is. Because she doesn't care about you. She doesn't. That girl had money before she started making her own. As far as she's concerned, you are dirt underneath her feet. Same thing goes for 99% of the celebrities. There are a few that are okay, and slowly the internet's picking them out. But why don't we lambast the rest of them? You know, everyone was talking about how Tom Hanks was the greatest and how Keanu Reeves is the greatest. Well, there was a time no one liked Keanu Reeves. And then you start to realize just how humble he is. And he gave his entire paycheck from The Matrix, one of the things that really started to turn his career around. He took every bit of this paycheck and gave it away. Why are we shining lights on that? You know, everybody sat there and chewed out The Rock and Oprah when there was the fires going on in Hawaii. Like, oh, if you could just give, like, you two realize that the two of you have more money than what you're asking for, and you could take care of it all on your own, and it wouldn't even be missed. You wouldn't know it was gone, and oh, look, it's back. Yet you're asking everybody else. Why are we not condemning these people more? Fuck them. Sure, there might be someone you like and you go see their movies, or you might go to their concerts or buy their albums and stuff. But don't give them any more than that. Why the fuck why take your hard-earned money and give it to someone who doesn't care? In a certain light, that's no different than you walking by a bum on the street and he's got his hand out and you refuse to put any money in his hand. You look at him or them the same way someone else with a much higher privilege looks at you. And sure, you may go help someone out, but that doesn't mean that your entire status changes. No one's going to sit there and knock on your door with a bag full of riches and go, hey, here you go. It's not how it works. Like the other day, I did it just because I wanted to do it. I've never done it before, always heard about it. I just thought it'd be kind of fun. We were having a party at Kick's place, and as in typical Kick fashion, he orders a ton of goddamn food. And so one of the places is when I used to have my apartment out, like 2 apartments ago. And it's like a 20-minute drive for me. It's about a half-hour drive for him. I was like, I got to shower. I'm going to go home, shower, change, and then I'll go grab it. Well, I'm sitting there in the drive-thru of this pretzel shop, and there's a line starting to form behind me because they don't have it to where you could go inside, because I was just going to go inside and pick up the order. But nope, that's not the thing. Pull up to the drive-thru speaker, give the first and last name for the order, and they tell you to pull on up. So I pull up, and the kid goes 844. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not me. I'm here to pick up an order for first and last name. He goes, oh, okay, hang on. Disappears for about a good 3 to 5 minutes. finally comes back, hands me a bucket that looks just like the KFC chicken bucket out the window. And I take it, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then a big ass bag of dipping sauces. And I'm just sitting there going, I think it's more funny than anything else. But I've always wanted to do something like this, so I'm going to do it. Because he told me the order of the guy behind me, I was like, here's 2 5s. I'm going to cover the guy's order behind me because I think it's going to be a funny fucking story that here's this car in front of him that just seems like there's an endless supply of pretzels coming out of the shop into this guy's car. And then he pays for my food too. Not only did he pay for my food, but I got the change for it too. And it was more of a, sorry you had to wait so long because this order's so big, but I tried to take my ass inside so that I wouldn't inconvenience anybody outside. And I just wanted to do something like that. I thought it was funny, and it'd be, it's the holiday season, it'd be kind of nice. And the kid who was just sitting there astounded as I'm just pulling these into the car and putting them next to me, he goes, no one's ever done that here before. And I said, well, I'm glad it's the first time for everything. So not only did the 2 guys that were daisy chaining buckets of pretzels to me, but the guy behind me now have a funny ass story all revolved around a gigantic pretzel order. I just thought it was hilarious. And yeah, it was nice too, but I just looked at it as funny. And I say that because there's plenty of people out there with way more money than I have. And every single one of them slaps the hand of anybody coming near. But why should I? Why should I? It's not so much why should you. It's more like, why don't you? Why wouldn't you? And I said this before about CEOs. I agree that by and large, you're the head honcho of a company. Sure, you should get the biggest slice. But your slice should not be so goddamn big that there is one slice left for everybody below you. I also feel if you fire so many people and then give yourself a raise, the government should step in and garnish the shit out of you. Because at what point are the rest of us gonna stop doe-eyeing these people and think that they ever think about us twice? Or that they ever give a rat's ass what we're going through? Or they even understand a thing what it's like to live at our level? The show Undercover Boss was made for a reason. And how many of those where I have these types of hard people working here and I can't believe these conditions? Well, bitch, if you just sit there and take a little bit of a pay cut to make the bottom end come up a little bit, you wouldn't have such guilt about it, now would you? These are deplorable situations. I would have never... The people underneath you are holding on to as much of their shit as they can too. How can you sit there and say that you didn't know it was this bad? Well, because you never walked down to the street level again to actually fucking pay attention to it. Oh, sure, you did one good thing. But do you ever go back to any of the other employees? Any of the other managers that are having trouble, that are working hard, that are doing what they can? No? Then fuck off. I would love to see an expose on how many people that were on Undercover Boss are still with that company, or where they are now, or how they were treated after the show, if anyone else near them did it, or they heard anybody else nearby that also had the same thing go on. I remember when I worked for an airline company, there was a ton of people that were pissed that the guy who owned that company only talked to the pilots didn't talk to the flight attendants, didn't talk to the ramp workers, didn't talk to the maintenance people, because we were the ones that keep the goddamn thing in the air. And I've talked to plenty of pilots. If you're on an 8-hour flight, do you want to know how much work a pilot actually does? 20 minutes. A pilot does about actually 20 minutes of work. The pilots, for the most part, are there in case shit goes wrong. But for the most part, pilots aren't needed. Once that plane gets in the air and you're about 5,000 feet up, plane will take care of itself. Almost all the way down to the landing, too. And then once the tires hit and the plane starts landing, that's when the pilot takes over again. Because that plane just follows a course. And once it hits and it starts to go and slow down, pilot takes over and goes, okay, well, we got a taxi over here to get all these people off this plane. That's how much work a pilot does. And there was tons of people in the maintenance department that was going, why are we overlooked? Why are we not the ones that are sitting there doing what's going on? Pilots make really good fucking money for working 20 minutes a day. Maybe I should have went and got my pilot's license. Just flew planes. I mean, it's just funny that there's all this talk about equal. But I think a lot of that talk is just to keep those of us that have to struggle busy fighting with each other rather than pointing at the fingers of everybody else who's running the betting ring to see which group gets pissed off next. To see which group sits there and feels like they're being descended upon. To see which one they can piss off the most and start having probably the most casualties. We're the chickens with talons leather strapped to our backs, fighting each other for the enjoyment of them that control every aspect of our life. At what point are we going to actually stop and pay attention to what the hell's going on and start calling these other people out? Fuck them. Every last one of them. You ever notice how probably the last 10 years or so, almost every single presidential candidate talks about education? We need to take care of our schools. We need to take care of the kids in our schools. You don't give a fuck about them. Because why has our educational system slowly kept declining? There are some teachers out there that should absolutely be given the keys to the kingdom. Because they're the ones out there that actually care. But they're in the minority. I'd say the majority of teachers don't give a shit. They're there just to collect a paycheck, yell at kids. They're always in the right, and off they go. Prove me wrong. And why is it that teachers can't get school supplies as tax write-offs? Or why can't they have a state-assisted budget that covers that? Because if you're truly going to give money to education, why doesn't it go to the educators? This country is so fucking backwards. And George Carlin tried to tell us this a while ago. He goes, there's a reason why they call it the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it. You know, it used to be a house with a white picket fence, a car, and 2 kids. That was the American dream. The American dream now is, can I eat tomorrow? How am I going to get to work? My car is falling apart. We shit on mechanics, but without mechanics, how does half of this shit in this fucking country still work? Why are we not praising them? Why are farmers not in the top list of people that earn? Because even the rich depend on the farmers. Why aren't the farmers making the most money? Why do we have to gouge farmers? They're literally your food line. I mean, these are the types of things that I think about when it's just me at night and I'm just staring off into space or can't really go to bed yet, or I'm just driving in silence. Everything that I talk about on these, that's what goes through my head. Because there's a difference between, let's say every person needs $35,000 to live on. Just to live. Not live comfortably, not live well, but $35,000 just to live. It's you by yourself, 35. It's gonna be tough, but you could do it. Well, now there's two of you. You're at 70. Well, your paid or your income just doubled. That's awesome. But now you have two kids and you're back to 70. Trying to take care of four people where each one of them require 35,000. So technically you're at zero. How are we supposed to have that work? At what point do we sit there and start telling them, no, go fuck yourself? Does anybody remember a little thing called the Boston Tea Party? So it's like, oh, you want your tea and you're going to charge us more for it when we're the ones that unloaded, threw it all in the harbor. Fuck you and your 2% tax. 2% increase on tea caused people to go fucking haywire over 100 years ago. Well, why the hell aren't we doing anything about it? Because it's all about trying to be better than somebody else. Well, last I checked, every human burps, farts, and shits. If you somehow were immune to all those, you didn't have those happen, yeah, maybe. Last I checked, every person, for the most part, walks around on two legs, uses two hands, two arms, two eyes, two ears. Off we go. So you're not any better. You were just luckier. And sure, you could say that, well, I was lucky, so why should I? Why can't you sit there and spread luck? The Mega Millions that was just hit, the 1.25, I think, billion, wasn't hit by me. But I always think about who I would help. How many friends I would sit there and wipe their debt clean so that way they could stop paying for their debt and start having that money be put away for themselves for retirement. I know friends that have stated numerous times, I'm going to work till the day I die because the field that I'm in doesn't pay that well. Imagine being on your deathbed and having enough money that you could have given everybody, and we'll say a medium-sized city, not like a metropolis or anything, but a couple 10,000, like 10, 20,000 people. You could have given them enough that they could sit there and enjoy the last of their years. But they were miserable, or they were painful, or they were expensive because they couldn't afford the medical bills. And you die, and it's going to go to other people who are just going to go, well, fuck them too. I know everybody hates her now, but J.K. Rowling went from a billionaire from writing a book to a millionaire because of how much she gave to charities. And yet I have to sit there and wonder what my next step is, what's available for me, how can I make just a tad bit more than I did before to try and get out of this room, when there's plenty of people that could sit there and pump out the bottom. Because I still think if you took the majority of your profits and you pushed them down for 3 years, and you had the people down below you that are creating enough of a surplus to where they can start paying off their debts, they can pay off their house, they can pay off their car, they can have more of a vacation, you're going to find that those people are going to do better. So those 3 years that you're at a deficit become, on that 4th year, a tremendous increase, because now the bottom end is taken care of. But if you don't give a shit to listen to the bottom end or to even lift the bottom end up, why should the bottom end give a fuck about you? Why should they bust their ass to make you $250,000 in 1 year, and then you turn around and get an increase of $2,500? So why did I make 1% of what I just helped you make? Why am I not getting like 10% of it? Because if I make you $250,000 and you give me 10%, and you say, you get me more, you'll get more. How is that not incentive? Ron Swanson said there are 3 ways that you motivate people: fear, hunger, and money. And it's sad that money can cause the other 2. Just my thoughts. Have a good new year. Be safe.